Hey there, budding wordsmiths. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome back to another episode of Write Like You Mean It, where we fly like an eagle. I'm not a singer, I'm an English teacher. Just to catch you up with videos so far in this series, we've been discussing the essential qualities of a process analysis essay. That's what we're writing. We're writing one of those process analysis essays. We've gone through quite a few, 5 so far, in fact. Now we're on to number 6, or Double Inglorious Bastards reference. Bam. Which is, if you need to handle many separate steps, arrange them into groups when possible. Even a simple process may involve a large number of steps. The process paper is far less intimidating for yourself and for your readers if the steps are presented in manageable chunks. Instead of visually overwhelming your reader with continual steps listed into eternity, it feels like 50, 100 separate steps or whatever, you can group things into chunks. When I say manageable chunks, I mean like major areas. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, beginning, middle, end. Take, for example, the process of painting a room. There are close to 50 separate steps. In case you're wondering where I got that number from, it's from a DIY workshop project guide that I found on the Home Depot's website. I'll link that below in the description. 50 distinct steps from start all the way through to finish. A lot to follow if you're actually doing it, painting the room, but it's also a lot to write if you're composing a process analysis essay. But much of this allotness, if you will, is psychological. The sheer amount is intimidating, not to mention unnerving and whatnot else. But suppose we approach things a little bit differently. Suppose that instead of 50 separate steps, we start to group things, some of these steps, through a consolidation process. To consolidate, mind you, is, quote, to combine a number of things into a single, more effective or coherent whole. Let me say that again. To combine a number of things into a single, more effective, coherent whole. You're marrying some of the constituents together. Or, I mean, at least having them mingle with each other, throwing a little cocktail party, see who ends up talking to who, and, well, the rest is history, I suppose. But anyway, back to painting the room with the baby crib in it. Such grouping doesn't actually reduce the number of steps. The allotness hasn't really changed. But something does happen. It gives the appearance of reduction, which may thereby shift our psychological perspective of just how much it takes to paint a room, of how much is involved. So, on the whole, grouping steps is beneficial for not only the effectiveness and coherence of your process analysis essay, but also for its reception, or how it is received, how it forms as a result of perception and experience in the mind's eye, as it were, of your reader. One of the dimensions of the definition of reception, by the way, is, and I quote, the way in which a person or group of people reacts to someone or something. You do not want your reader's reaction to be that of a confidence-draining, dreadful dismay. No, rather, you want to affect in them a feeling of capability, that they can, and what's more, in fact, want to satisfy the exigence at hand. And surely in that there's another satisfaction, a rewarding satisfaction to be found. I'm sure that you're aware of the chasmic difference between yourself as willing and motivated participant and yourself as immured captive. The former reaches the awe of accomplishment, whereas the latter, got that done because they had to. I'm not even Well, anyway, moving on. Let's take that close to 50 something steps for painting a room and designate them into 1, 2, 3 major areas. We'll designate the first area as preparation, the second area as painting, and the third and final area as cleaning or cleanup. And then from there, from our new division, we could form each area's structure as a paragraph. Warning, the following content is of a paragraphic nature. Viewer discretion advised. Or some such other meaningfully related compartment of sentences. Or, if not compartment of sentences, shall we say console of sentences? Since, after all, console has its roots in consolidare, which is the Latin for consolidate, and which also means, quote, to make firm or solid together. Choices, 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 am I right? Oh, joy. Well, anyway. And after all, since it's all one, as Shakespeare would say, and also, if you don't mind just one more interruption for a bit of Latin, unus pro omnibus, omnes pro uno, or one for all and all for one. Nevertheless, and focusing on the less this time, what happens, as we've discussed, is that the reader gets the modified impression of having only 3 major areas to worry about instead of 50 separate steps. I mean, even as standard a grouping of steps as phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, or beginning, middle, and end is preferable to none at all. Alrighty then, so here's the big takeaway. The more steps in the process, the more essential it becomes to collect them into groups to create a much more manageable and far less intimidating standing of fixed relations. Process Analysis Essay Essential Quality number 6. If you need to handle many separate steps, arrange them into groups when possible. Thanks for tuning in and see you next time.